Hi all, I'm here to give just a brief overview of our truss concept that we've been developing just in the past few days. Previously, we thought we might try and attack last year's truss and kind of redesign that for this year. But due to some constructability reasons, we thought maybe we should try and look into something different that would reduce the amount of drilling that we'd have to do either on campus or in the field. So this truss, if you remember, we used a pony truss design with those kicker braces that provide the torsional support along with some other lateral supports underneath the deck. There is a new design we've been throwing around though, I'd ask you to consider. So the picture in the bottom left and also the bottom right are pretty much the same thing. It uses a kind of a square box design. So this is looking down the bridge at where the verticals would be. So on the left and right, so look at the bottom left picture. The left and right member would be the verticals. The top member would be the cross member, and also another cross member at the bottom. Those dots would just be where the hand railing would be. So the difference between last year's design and this year's design is obviously we don't have the kicker braces anymore. We will be providing the torsional support through a fixed connection at each of the four corners. We have a few ways we might do that. That might be a welded joint there, or it would be a kind of plate that'll provide that stiffness. You can kind of see that cross hatching or the those cornered members on the bottom right picture at each of the four corners. So this design is also unique in that we don't have as many connections. At each of the four corners, say in the bottom left picture, there would be a peg that would go through, or perhaps a welded tube that would then go into the top and bottom cords with a pin connection through that. You can kind of see that in the top left picture here. The dotted line inside the top and bottom cord would be the peg that's welded onto the kind of box design at the bottom left, and then you would be able to slide the top and bottom cord over top of those pegs, put your pins through to provide the axial loading that's required. And you can see the panels themselves would just be two diagonals that would be connected to the top and bottom cord. So this is in a few pictures of those joints. So the left picture, it would be the top right joint of that box from the last slide. So this is kind of modeling the plate that would be bolted to the top cross member and the right vertical. So this would use a square hole. You can kind of see that with the X drawn through it in the top right. This square hole would fit a square peg that would go through it, and then that would provide that torsional support that I was talking about, and then the square peg would go through that, and then the top cord would go on top of that. You can see that in the right picture where you're kind of looking at the vertical that goes up to that connection with a spacer block there between the two brackets that would facilitate that square peg going through all of that as shown in the dotted line, and then the top cord going over top of that peg both on the left and right of that joint. So this is the view of the panel that would be slid over top of those pegs. So you got the top and bottom cord along with the diagonals that would somehow be connected to those top and bottom cords. We're thinking right now it'd be some sort of ear design that might be welded onto the top and bottom cord, and then there would be a simple pin connection into those diagonals. The right picture there shows the cross section of the bottom cord, that square tube, along with some sort of bracket that would be welded onto that tube, and then the diagonal that could be just kind of connected by some sort of pin through that bracket. So that's pretty much it. It's a pretty basic overview. There's a lot of more ideas that are coming from that, but I just asked you to all think about this before we meet on Monday. We're going to try and hopefully decide exactly what type of truss we're going to be looking at for this year, either last year's type of bridge or perhaps something new along these new guidelines. So, all right, thanks for